My name is Lydia Cross, and this is the story of how I turned the most humiliating moment of my entrepreneurial journey into the sweetest revenge imaginable. Picture this. A 28-year-old woman standing in a garage that reeked of motor oil and forgotten dreams, clutching a laptop that was held together with electrical tape and sheer determination. That woman was me. And in that moment, I had no idea that the empire I was about to build would one day swallow whole the very company that dared to mock my humble beginnings. The year was 2018, and the tech world was buzzing with billion-dollar valuations and overnight success stories. Everyone seemed to have a corner office in Silicon Valley, a team of developers, and venture capital flowing like water. Everyone except me. I had something different. Something more dangerous than money or connections. I had nothing left to lose. My garage office was not glamorous. The concrete floor stayed cold even in summer, and the fluorescent light above my makeshift desk flickered like a dying heartbeat. My furniture consisted of a second-hand wooden desk I had bought for $30 from a garage sale, a plastic chair that squeaked every time I moved, and a metal filing cabinet that served double duty as both storage and a coffee table. But in that unglamorous space, magic was happening. Every morning at 5:30, I would drag myself out of bed and stumble into that garage, armed with nothing but determination and an insatiable hunger to prove everyone wrong. The skeptics, the naysayers, the investors who had looked at me like I was speaking a foreign language when I pitched my idea. My concept was simple, yet revolutionary. An e-commerce platform that would put small businesses first, giving them the tools and support that the big corporations had been keeping to themselves. While Amazon and other giants treated small sellers like disposable commodities, I wanted to create something different. Something human. The problem was nobody believed in my vision. I had pitched to 17 different investors over 6 months, and each rejection felt like a dagger to my already wounded pride. They would sit there in their expensive suits, tapping their Mont Blanc pens against leather portfolios, looking at me with barely concealed amusement. The market is already saturated, they would say. Amazon has this locked down. What makes you think you can compete? But the worst rejection came from Harrison Vale, the CEO of Teknova Industries, a mid-sized tech company that specialized in business solutions. I had approached his company for a potential partnership, thinking that maybe we could work together instead of competing. I will never forget that networking event at the downtown Marriott. The ballroom was filled with the usual suspects. Entrepreneurs in designer jeans trying to look casual, investors checking their Rolexes every few minutes, and startup founders practicing their elevator pitches in bathroom mirrors. I had scraped together enough money to buy a decent outfit for the event. A black blazer from Target, pants that I hoped looked more expensive than they were, and shoes that pinched my feet but gave me the confidence to walk into that room full of people who belonged to a world I was desperately trying to enter. Harrison Vale was everything I was not. Tall, polished, with silver hair that caught the light just right and a smile that said he had never doubted himself for a single day in his life. His company had been around for 8 years, pulling in steady revenue and maintaining a respectable position in the business solutions market. When I approached him, I was nervous but hopeful. I had researched his company extensively and genuinely believed we could create something powerful together. "Mr. Vale," I said, extending my hand with what I hoped was a confident smile. "I am Lydia Cross. I have been following Teknova's work, and I think there might be an opportunity for collaboration." He looked me up and down, his eyes lingering on my Target blazer and discount shoes. "Collaboration," he said, his voice carrying just enough condescension to make my skin crawl. "What exactly do you do, Miss Cross?" "I am building an e-commerce platform focused on empowering small businesses," I explained, launching into the pitch I had practiced 1,000 times in my garage mirror. "I believe there is a gap in the market for truly personalized business solutions, and I think Teknova could be the perfect partner to help scale this vision." Harrison listened with the kind of fake attention that people give when they are already planning their exit strategy. When I finished, he chuckled, a sound that made my stomach drop. "Running a company from your garage, Lydia?" he said, loud enough that several nearby conversations paused. "Cute hobby. Call us when you are serious." The laughter that followed was like acid in my veins. Not just his laugh, but the chuckles and snickers from everyone within earshot. I felt my cheeks burning, my hands trembling slightly as I tried to maintain my composure. "I am serious," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "Sure you are," Harrison replied, already turning away. "Good luck with your little project." I stood there for what felt like an eternity, surrounded by the echoes of their laughter. In that moment, I made a decision that would change everything. I was not going to let this humiliation break me. I was going to let it fuel me. The drive home was a blur of tears and rage. I sat in my car outside my house for 20 minutes, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. Part of me wanted to give up right there. Pack up the laptop, throw out the business cards, and find a safe corporate job where nobody would laugh at my dreams. But a bigger part of me, the part that had gotten me this far, was absolutely furious. I walked into my garage that night and looked around at my humble setup. The flickering light, the cold concrete, the smell of paint and dreams deferred. And instead of seeing failure, I saw possibility. "You want serious?" I said to the empty garage. "I will show you serious." That night marked the beginning of the most intense period of my life. I made a promise to myself that I would not just succeed. I would dominate. I would build something so impressive, so undeniable, that Harrison Vale and everyone like him would have no choice but to respect what I had created. The first thing I did was create a detailed business plan that went beyond my original vision. I analyzed every weakness in the current market, identified opportunities that bigger companies were ignoring, and developed strategies that would allow me to compete not just on price, but on value and innovation. I taught myself to code, spending 18-hour days watching YouTube tutorials, reading documentation, and practicing until my eyes burned and my fingers ached. I could not afford to hire developers, so I had to become one myself. Every dollar I saved on development costs was a dollar I could invest in marketing, customer acquisition, or product improvement. My garage became a war room. I covered the walls with whiteboards filled with user flow diagrams, marketing strategies, and revenue projections. I set up a small corner with a coffee maker and a mini fridge, because leaving for meals felt like wasted time. I installed better lighting and bought a space heater for the winter months, because comfort was a luxury I could not afford. The work was brutal. I would code for 12 hours straight, take a short break to eat something that resembled food, then spend another 4 hours handling customer service, updating the website, or researching competitors. I fell asleep at my desk more nights than I care to count, waking up with keyboard indentations on my face and a neck that screamed in protest. But slowly, miraculously, it started working. My first customer was a small jewelry maker in Oregon who had been struggling to get her products noticed on larger platforms. She found my website through a blog post I had written about supporting small artisans, and she placed an order for my basic seller package, $50 that felt like $1 million victory. I remember that order notification email appearing on my screen at 2 a.m. I stared at it for a full minute, then actually started crying. Not from exhaustion or stress, but from pure, overwhelming relief. Someone believed in what I was building. Someone was willing to pay for it. I called the customer the next day to personally thank her and ask for feedback. That phone call taught me more about my target market than any research report could have. She told me about the challenges small business owners face, the fees that eat into their slim margins, the lack of support from larger platforms, and the feeling of being invisible in a marketplace dominated by corporate giants. That conversation became the foundation of everything I built afterward. Instead of trying to be everything to everyone, I decided to be absolutely everything to small business owners. Every feature I developed, every policy I implemented, every customer service interaction was designed with one goal in mind: making small businesses feel valued, supported, and empowered. Word spread slowly at first, then faster. Small business owners talk to each other, and they share resources that actually help them succeed. My platform began attracting sellers who had been frustrated with larger marketplaces, who appreciated the personal attention and business-focused features I was providing. By month 6, I had 50 active sellers and was generating enough revenue to quit eating ramen noodles for every meal. By month 12, I had 200 sellers and enough profit to hire my first employee, a customer service representative who worked remotely and shared my passion for supporting small businesses. But success brought new challenges. As my platform grew, so did the attention from competitors. Larger companies began noticing the market segment I was serving, and some tried to replicate my model. The difference was they saw small business support as a marketing strategy. I saw it as a mission. That distinction made all the difference. While competitors focused on flashy features and aggressive marketing campaigns, I focused on building genuine relationships. I personally called every new seller to welcome them to the platform. I created educational resources to help them improve their businesses. I developed tools that saved them time and money. I treated each seller not as a customer, but as a partner in building something meaningful. The results spoke for themselves. Year 2 brought explosive growth. My platform attracted over 1,000 sellers and began generating 7-figure annual revenue. I moved operations out of the garage and into a small office space, hired a team of 12 employees, and started getting recognition from industry publications. But I never forgot where I came from, and I never forgot the people who had dismissed me. Harrisonvale's name appeared in my Google alerts regularly. Takeover Industries was struggling. They had missed several key market trends, lost major clients, and were facing increased competition from more agile startups. Their stock price was declining, and industry analysts were questioning their long-term viability. I felt no sympathy. Year 3 was when everything changed. My platform had evolved into something far beyond my original vision. We were not just helping small businesses sell products. We were providing comprehensive business solutions. Inventory management, financial analytics, marketing tools, customer relationship management, and educational resources all integrated into one powerful platform. Major brands began reaching out, wanting to partner with us to access our network of small businesses. Investors who had once dismissed me were now calling with offers. Industry conferences were inviting me to speak about innovation in e-commerce. But the most satisfying moment came when I received an unexpected email. Ms. Cross, it read. I hope you remember me from the networking event 3 years ago. I am Harrison Vale, CEO of Takeover Industries. I would like to discuss a potential partnership opportunity. I believe our companies could create significant value together. I read that email 5 times, savoring every word. The man who had publicly humiliated me, who had called my startup a cute hobby, was now asking for my help. I did not respond immediately. Instead, I did research. Takeover Industries was in worse shape than I had realized. They had lost 30% of their client base over the past 18 months. Their primary product was becoming obsolete, and they lacked the innovation necessary to adapt. Several key employees had left for competitors, and their board was growing restless. They were desperate. And desperation, I had learned, was an opportunity. Instead of agreeing to a partnership, I made a different kind of proposal. I offered to acquire Takeover Industries. The initial response was exactly what I expected. Shock, followed by indignation, followed by a condescending rejection. Harrison Vale called me personally to express his disbelief that a garage startup would have the audacity to make such an offer. But I had something he did not have anymore: leverage. My company was valued at over $50 million and growing rapidly. We had healthy cash flow, a loyal customer base, and a clear vision for the future. Takeover, on the other hand, was bleeding money and running out of options. I made my offer generous enough to be attractive, but structured in a way that gave me complete control. I would acquire their client base, their intellectual property, and their office space. I would retain some of their employees, but the management team would be replaced entirely. Harrison Vale would be out. The negotiation process took 4 months. During that time, Takeover's situation continued to deteriorate. A major client canceled their contract, citing concerns about the company's stability. Their stock price hit a 5-year low. 2 more key employees gave their notice. Their board finally agreed to my terms. The day of the acquisition closing was surreal. I stood in the lobby of the building that would soon be my second headquarters, wearing a designer suit that cost more than my entire networking event outfit from 4 years earlier. My legal team flanked me, carrying documents that would transfer ownership of a company that had once seemed untouchable. Harrison Vale met us in the conference room, looking every one of his 62 years. The confidence and arrogance that had once defined him were gone, replaced by the hollow look of a man who had watched his empire crumble. "Congratulations, Miss Cross," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I hope you know what you are doing." "I do," I replied simply. The paperwork was signed, the transfers were processed, and just like that, Teknova Industries belonged to me. But the moment I had been waiting for came afterward. Harrison Vale was required to personally hand over his executive access card and office keys as part of the transition protocol. It was a standard procedure, but the symbolism was overwhelming. The same man who had publicly mocked my garage office was now surrendering the keys to his corporate headquarters to me. "Your key card, Mr. Vale," I said, extending my hand. He looked at the plastic card for a long moment, then placed it in my palm. "You know," he said, "I may have underestimated you at that networking event." "You did not underestimate me," I replied. "You dismissed me. There is a difference." He nodded slowly, picked up his personal belongings, and walked out of the building he had ruled for 8 years. I stood there for several minutes, holding his keycard and looking around the executive floor that was now mine. The corner office with its panoramic city view, the boardroom where million-dollar decisions had been made, the reception area with its marble floors and expensive art. All of it belonged to the woman they had called a garage hobby. But the real satisfaction came later, when I walked into that same boardroom where Harrison Vale had once held court. I sat in the leather chair at the head of the table, looked around at the space that represented everything he had tried to deny me access to, and smiled. "Not bad for a garage hobby, right?" I said to the empty room. The acquisition of Teknova Industries was just the beginning. Over the next 12 months, I integrated their client base with my platform, upgraded their outdated systems, and implemented the customer-focused philosophy that had made my original company successful. The results exceeded even my optimistic projections. Former Teknova clients who had been considering leaving were amazed by the level of service and innovation they suddenly had access to. Many expanded their contracts and became long-term partners. The employees I retained thrived in an environment that valued creativity and customer satisfaction over bureaucracy and politics. The combined company became a powerhouse in the business solutions industry. But the story does not end there. 6 months after the acquisition, I received another unexpected communication. This time, it was not an email but a handwritten letter delivered to my office. "Dear Ms. Cross," it began, "I have been following your company's progress since the acquisition, and I wanted to reach out to congratulate you on your success. More importantly, I wanted to apologize. My behavior at that networking event was unprofessional and dismissive, and I have regretted it ever since. You have built something remarkable, and you deserve all the recognition and success that comes with it. I hope you will accept my apology. Sincerely, Harrison Vale." I read the letter several times, trying to decide how I felt about it. Part of me appreciated the gesture. It took humility to admit being wrong, especially for someone who had spent his career projecting confidence and authority. But another part of me wondered if the apology was sincere, or just another business calculation from a man who had learned too late that burning bridges can be costly. I decided it did not matter. The apology could not undo the humiliation I had felt that night, and it certainly could not change the trajectory that his dismissiveness had set in motion. But it also could not diminish what I had accomplished. I had built an empire from nothing. I had taken the worst moment of my entrepreneurial journey and transformed it into the motivation that drove me to unprecedented success. I had proven that underestimating someone based on their circumstances is one of the most expensive mistakes a person can make. Today, my company employs over 300 people across 4 offices. We serve thousands of small businesses, helping them grow and thrive in ways that would have been impossible without our platform. We have been recognized as one of the fastest-growing companies in our industry, and we continue to innovate and expand into new markets. But my favorite part of the office is still that corner of the original headquarters, where I keep a small display case. Inside that case is a picture of my old garage office, complete with the flickering fluorescent light and the $30 desk. Next to it is Harrison Vale's executive keycard from Teknova Industries. It serves as a daily reminder that every no is just a redirection towards something better. Every moment of doubt is an opportunity to prove yourself wrong. Every person who underestimates you is accidentally giving you a competitive advantage. The business world is full of Harrison Valles, people who judge others based on appearances, who confuse confidence with competence, who mistake current circumstances for permanent limitations. They look at someone working from a garage and see failure. They look at someone without connections and see impossibility. They look at someone who thinks differently and see naivety. They are wrong every single time. Success is not about having the perfect setup from the beginning. It is not about impressing the right people or getting validation from those who think they control access to opportunity. Success is about persistence, adaptation, and the willingness to prove yourself right when everyone else insists you are wrong. My garage office taught me lessons that no business school could have provided. It taught me that resourcefulness matters more than resources. It taught me that believing in your vision is more important than getting others to believe in it. It taught me that the people who dismiss you today might be asking for your help tomorrow. Most importantly, it taught me that the sweetest victories come not from beating your competitors, but from becoming so successful that your former skeptics have no choice but to respect what you have built. When people ask me about the key to my success, I tell them about that networking event. I tell them about Harrison Valles' laughter and the humiliation I felt walking back to my car that night. I tell them about the choice I made in that moment, to let that experience fuel me instead of defeat me. Because sometimes the best thing that can happen to an entrepreneur is being completely underestimated. It gives you the freedom to work without interference, to innovate without pressure, and to build something remarkable while everyone else is looking elsewhere. By the time they notice what you have accomplished, it is too late for them to stop you. Harrison Valles thought he was putting me in my place that night. What he actually did was give me the motivation to take his place. And that, more than any business strategy or market analysis, is the real secret to building an empire from a garage. The doubters, the dismissers, the people who laugh at your dreams, they are not obstacles to your success. They are fuel for it. Use them wisely. As I write this, sitting in the corner office that once belonged to the man who mocked my ambitions, I can see my original garage through the window of my house next door. I kept the house and the garage exactly as they were, not as a shrine to the past, but as a reminder of how far determination can take you when you refuse to accept other people's limitations on your potential. The garage still smells faintly of paint and dust. The fluorescent light still flickers sometimes. But now, instead of housing a desperate entrepreneur with a second-hand desk and a dream, it houses a piece of history. The history of what happens when you bet on yourself, even when nobody else will. The history of turning mockery into motivation. The history of proving that the size of your office has nothing to do with the size of your impact. And the history of how one networking event changed not just my life, but the entire trajectory of an industry that thought they knew what success looked like. They were wrong. Success looks like persistence. Success looks like refusing to quit when everyone expects you to. Success looks like turning your greatest humiliation into your greatest triumph. Success looks like walking into a boardroom you now own and saying, with complete sincerity and absolute satisfaction, "Not bad for a garage hobby, right?" If this story inspired you to chase your own impossible dreams and turn your doubters into believers, make sure to subscribe to our channel for more incredible stories of transformation, determination, and sweet, sweet revenge. Hit that subscribe button and join thousands of others who refuse to let anyone else define their limits. Your empire is waiting, and it starts with believing in yourself when nobody else will.